The Sullivan house exuded an air of warmth and stability, with its neatly trimmed hedges and pristine facade. But inside, Adam Sullivan was piecing together fragments of a reality he never wanted to face. Married for 12 years, Adam had built his life around Chloe, the woman he had once believed to be his perfect partner. Yet over the past few months, cracks had appeared in the foundation of their marriage. Cracks that Chloe's reassuring smiles and defections could no longer hide. It was an early spring evening, the kind that brought hope of renewal. But Adam's heart was weighed down by suspicion. Chloe had insisted on hosting a casual dinner, something she hadn't done in years, claiming it was for an old friend visiting town. The friend turned out to be Ryan, a younger, smirking man whose charisma was as sharp as his arrogance. Adam had met him once before, briefly, during a company event. Back then, Ryan's eyes lingered on Chloe, longer than necessary, and his tone, when speaking to Adam, had bordered on condescending. As Chloe moved about the kitchen with an energy Adam hadn't seen in months, he watched her closely, his sharp blue eyes taking in every detail. Her laughter seemed forced, too practiced, like an actress rehearsing for a role. Her phone buzzed several times on the counter, but she silenced it without checking. A subtle but glaring anomaly. Ryan arrived a few minutes later, bearing an expensive bottle of wine that he presented with a flair Adam found irritating. His presence filled the room as he complimented Chloe on her culinary skills and casually inquired about Adam's work. Adam responded with polite indifference, masking the slow churn of suspicion tightening in his chest. The subtle glances Ryan and Chloe exchanged, the way she seemed to glow in his presence, it was all too much to ignore. Yeah, you know what? Dinner stretched on, each bite of food tasteless to Adam as he observed the unspoken language between his wife and her friend. Ryan was overly familiar, leaning into Chloe's space as they talked, his hand briefly brushing hers when she passed him a dish. Chloe laughed nervously but made no effort to move away. It was during dessert, a moment when Chloe excused herself to retrieve coffee from the kitchen, that Ryan's mask slipped. He leaned back in his chair and smirked at Adam. "You've got quite the wife, Adam," he said, his tone laced with a challenge. "She's a treasure." Adam's jaw tightened, but he kept his composure. "She is," he replied evenly, "one worth protecting." Ryan's smirk faltered, but only for a moment. By the time Chloe returned, the tension had dissipated, though Adam's resolve had solidified. He wouldn't confront her tonight, not without proof. Instead, he would play the part of the oblivious husband, all while planning his move. The minute the night ended, Chloe's laughter still echoing in his ears. Adam kissed her goodnight as if nothing had changed. But as she drifted to sleep, his mind was already strategizing. If she thought her secrets were safe, she was about to learn just how wrong she was. Adam spoke plainly. Adam began his investigation the morning after the dinner with Ryan. It started innocently enough, under the guise of tidying up. While Chloe slept in, Adam retrieved her phone from the kitchen counter, where she had left it charging overnight. His hands trembled slightly as he navigated to her messages, his heart pounding in his chest. Most of the exchanges were mundane, texts with friends, group chats about book clubs, even a thread with her mother discussing an upcoming family reunion. But as Adam scrolled, one contact stood out. R. The texts with R were vague yet pointed, filled with inside jokes and cryptic mentions of getaways and shared moments. There was nothing explicit, but Adam didn't need explicit. He understood subtext, and these texts screamed of an emotional intimacy that didn't belong to a casual friendship. He carefully replaced her phone and took a deep breath. His suspicions were confirmed, but he knew this was just the beginning. He needed something undeniable, something Chloe couldn't deflect or twist. He decided it was time to leverage his skills. Not the ones as an engineer, but those honed through years of managing high-pressure situations. Patience, precision, and methodical planning would be his tools now. That afternoon, Adam met with his sister, Emma, a lawyer who had always been his sounding board. Sitting across from her in a quiet cafe, Adam laid out what he had discovered. Emma, known for her fierce loyalty and sharp intellect, listened without interruption. When Adam finished, her response was calm but firm. "You can't just confront her, Adam, not yet. If you go in half prepared, she'll spin this in her favor, make it about you being paranoid. You need concrete evidence, photos, messages, even a witness if you can get one. Until then, play it cool." Emma's words resonated with him, and she was right. His gut reaction would have been to confront Chloe immediately, but this wasn't just about them anymore. Their friends, their families, their entire social circle would be affected by the fallout. He had to approach this like a chess game, thinking several moves ahead. That evening, Adam installed discreet monitoring software on Chloe's laptop. It wasn't something he did lightly. The decision weighed on him, his sense of morality battling with his need for answers. But as Chloe laughed in the other room, chatting with someone on speakerphone, Adam's resolve hardened. This wasn't a necessary step toward uncovering the truth she was hiding from him. Over the next week, the software provided Adam with a clearer picture. Chloe wasn't just exchanging texts with Ryan. There were emails, social media messages, even receipts for gifts he had sent her. It was all hidden behind layers of secrecy. Messages sent at odd hours, aliases used for hotel bookings, and pictures that captured moments Adam wasn't supposed to see. What struck Adam the most wasn't the physical betrayal, but the emotional intimacy. Chloe and Ryan weren't just lovers. They were partners in deceit. They shared secrets, dreams, even jokes about Adam's supposed obliviousness. It was this that burned the most, the idea that they saw him as a fool, yet, through it all, Adam kept his composure. Chloe didn't suspect a thing. She carried on as if life was normal, oblivious to the fact that Adam's understanding of her had fundamentally changed. If anything, she seemed more cheerful, even affectionate at times. The duplicity only fueled Adam's determination. The final piece fell into place on a rainy Thursday evening. Chloe had told Adam she was meeting her book club, but the GPS tracker Adam had discreetly placed in her car told a different story. She was at a boutique hotel downtown. With Emma's advice in mind, Adam didn't confront her. Instead, he drove to the location and captured what he needed: photos of Chloe and Ryan together, their body language leaving no room for interpretation. As Adam sat in his car that night, staring at the undeniable proof on his phone, he felt a mix of emotions: heartbreak, anger, and a strange sense of relief. The truth was painful, but it was better than the lie. For the first time in weeks, Adam felt clarity. He knew what he had to do next, and this time, it wouldn't just be a private reckoning. It would be a spectacle Chloe and Ryan wouldn't forget. Adam's strategy shifted from gathering evidence to preparing the perfect stage for Chloe and Ryan's exposure. The truth alone wasn't enough for him. It had to be undeniable and witnessed by those closest to them. Quietly, Adam began orchestrating a plan to dismantle Chloe's facade of innocence. The turning point came during a routine family dinner at Chloe's parents' home. As Chloe chatted with her mother about an upcoming charity gala, Adam watched her carefully. Her tone was light, her laughter easy, but Adam recognized the subtle tells of someone walking a tightrope of lies. Chloe had always been meticulous about presenting a flawless image to her family, and Adam decided it was time to exploit that perfectionism. Are you still planning to go to the gala next week?" Adam asked casually, pouring himself a glass of wine. Chloe nodded enthusiastically. Of course, Ryan's firm is one of the sponsors this year. It's such an important event for networking." Adam noticed the slight pause in her words, the hesitation as she mentioned Ryan's name. He didn't react outwardly, only offering a neutral smile. "I'll make sure to clear my schedule," he said smoothly. Chloe beamed, clearly unaware of the double meaning in his words. Over the next few days, Adam worked with Emma to finalize the plan. Emma's sharp legal mind and no-nonsense approach proved invaluable as they went over the details. "We need to ensure this isn't just a spectacle but also airtight if things escalate to court," Emma said, tapping her pen against her notepad. Public exposure is one thing, but securing the divorce settlement you deserve is another. Adam nodded, his jaw tightening. He hadn't thought much about the divorce itself. His focus had been on exposing the betrayal. But Emma's words grounded him. If Chloe was capable of this level of deceit, there was no telling how far she'd go when confronted. Adam had to protect himself, legally and financially. With Emma's help, Adam began compiling the evidence into a timeline: emails, text exchanges, photos, and even receipts Chloe had tried to conceal. They reviewed everything with precision, ensuring there were no loose ends. This isn't just about proving the affair, Emma reminded him. It's about showing the pattern of deceit. Her attempts to manipulate the truth. That's what will leave her with no room to argue. As the day of the gala approached, Adam implemented the next phase of his plan: recruiting allies. He confided in Sophie, a mutual friend who had always been loyal to Adam. Sophie, initially skeptical, was horrified when she saw the evidence. "She's been lying to all of us," Sophie said, shaking her head in disbelief. "I feel like a fool for ever believing her excuses about Ryan." Adam placed a reassuring hand on Sophie's shoulder. "You're not the fool, Sophie. She is underestimating us." The night of the gala arrived, and Adam dressed meticulously, choosing the dark suit Chloe had always complimented. It felt ironic, using her favorite tie to prepare for the night that would shatter her carefully constructed world. As they drove to the event, Chloe was unusually chatty, her excitement bubbling over. "This year's theme is new beginnings," she said with a laugh. "Fitting, don't you think?" Adam merely nodded, his mind focused on the task ahead. His phone buzzed with a message from Emma. "Everything is in place. Good luck, brother." At the gala, Chloe slipped seamlessly into hostess mode, mingling with guests and showering Ryan with praise for his company's sponsorship. Adam watched from the sidelines, letting her believe she was in control. He exchanged knowing glances with Sophie and Emma, who were strategically positioned among the crowd. When the time came for the night's speeches, Chloe was invited on stage to introduce Ryan as a key benefactor. She glowed under the spotlight, her charm on full display. "And now," she said, gesturing to Ryan, "a man whose vision and generosity have inspired us all, Ryan Mitchell." Polite applause filled the room as Ryan approached the microphone, smugness radiating from every step. But as he began his speech, the mood shifted. Adam, standing at the back of the room, signaled to Emma. The screens flanking the stage flickered and a slideshow began to play. At first, the images seemed harmless. Photos from company events, candid shots of Chloe and Ryan at various gatherings. But then the tone darkened. Text messages appeared on screen, their contents incriminating and unambiguous. Emails followed, along with receipts for secret getaways and even a picture of Ryan and Chloe embracing in a hotel lobby. Gasps rippled through the audience as the slideshow continued, each frame more damning than the last. Chloe froze on stage, her smile faltering as whispers erupted in the crowd. Ryan turned pale, his usual confidence shattered. What is this?" Chloe stammered, her voice barely audible over the murmurs. Adam stepped forward, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos around him. "This," he said, his voice steady, "is the truth. The truth you've been hiding from everyone, including me." He tightened his grip on his daggers. In other times, he would have handled crisis with ease. But in these precious moments, he emphasized the word aloud: diligency. In the aftermath, Chloe and Ryan were left scrambling to explain themselves, their reputations in tatters. Adam's meticulous planning ensured there was no room for denial. The gala, once a celebration of new beginnings, had become a reckoning, a moment that would forever define Chloe's legacy in their community. Adam walked away from the event feeling a strange sense of relief. The hardest part was over, but the fallout had just begun. The stage was set for the final act of his journey, a future free from lies, and the strength to rebuild what had been broken. Adam's revelation at the gala was nothing short of a seismic event, sending shockwaves through his social circle and community. Chloe and Ryan had spent years crafting an image of sophistication, charm, and success. an illusion Adam had shattered with a single calculated move. The fallout was swift and brutal, but for Adam, it was far from over. The morning after the gala, Adam awoke to a flood of text messages and missed calls. Friends, family members, and acquaintances had all heard what happened, and their reactions ranged from shock to outrage. One message stood out among the others, a curt text from Chloe. "We need to talk." Adam stared at the screen for a long moment before typing back a simple response. "I'll be home at noon. Be ready." As he set the phone down, he felt a strange calm wash over him. The storm was coming, but Adam had already weathered the worst part. Now it was about ensuring Chloe couldn't twist the narrative to her advantage. When Adam walked through the door of their home later that day, Chloe was waiting in the living room, her face pale and drawn. The usually immaculate space felt claustrophobic, her perfume lingering in the air like a ghost. She sat perched on the edge of the sofa, her hands clutching a tissue as if it were a lifeline. "Adam," she began, her voice trembling, I I don't even know where to start." Adam leaned against the doorframe, his piercing blue eyes fixed on her. Chloe flinched, her eyes darting away. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she whispered. "I never wanted to hurt you." Adam let out a bitter laugh. "You invited your lover into our home, Chloe. You spent years lying to me, to our friends, to everyone. Spare me the excuses." For a moment, Chloe seemed to crumble under the weight of his words. Tears spilled down her cheeks. But Adam didn't move to comfort her. This wasn't the time for mercy. I thought, Chloe paused, struggling to find the right words. "I thought I could keep both lives separate, that you wouldn't find out, that it wouldn't matter. That it wouldn't matter. I forget the whole process. Adam shook his head, his voice cold. Their conversation dragged on for over an hour, with Chloe alternating between tearful apologies and desperate justifications. Adam listened, his expression unreadable, but inside, he felt a quiet resolve harden. Chloe's words were meaningless. "Too little, too late. You've destroyed everything," Adam said finally, his tone measured but firm. "Our marriage, our reputation, the life we built together. And for what? A fling? Some thrill you thought I couldn't give you?" Chloe didn't respond, her silence confirming what Adam already knew. There was nothing left to save. Over the next few days, the fallout extended beyond their household. Ryan's career took an immediate hit as clients began withdrawing contracts and distancing themselves from his firm. Rumors swirled about his unethical behavior, and while some details remained vague, the damage to his reputation was irreversible. Chloe, too, found herself isolated. Friends who had once admired her charm and charisma now viewed her with suspicion and disdain. Sophie, their mutual friend, confronted Chloe directly during a strained phone call. "How could you do this, Chloe?" Sophie demanded, her voice shaking with anger. "Adam didn't deserve this. None of us did." "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," Chloe pleaded. I made a mistake." "No," Sophie snapped. "A mistake is forgetting a birthday or saying something you regret. What you did was deliberate. You lied to all of us, Chloe. You betrayed us." The call ended abruptly, leaving Chloe alone with the harsh reality of her choices. Meanwhile, Adam focused on taking the next steps to secure his future. With Emma's guidance, he filed for divorce, ensuring Chloe would walk away with as little as possible. The evidence he had collected, financial records, text messages, and photos, painted a clear picture of infidelity and deceit, leaving Chloe with no grounds to contest the settlement. At the same time, Adam began the slow process of rebuilding his life. He reconnected with old friends, resumed his hobbies, and threw himself into work. The betrayal had left scars, but it also brought clarity. For the first time in years, Adam felt like he was living authentically, free from the weight of Chloe's lies. One evening, as Adam sorted through boxes of old belongings, he came across their wedding album. He hesitated before opening it, the memories inside both bittersweet and painful. Flipping through the pages, he saw the smiles, the laughter, the promises they had made to each other. It struck him then how much of their marriage had been built on assumptions, on the belief that love alone was enough to sustain them. But love, Adam realized, wasn't just about grand gestures or vows. It was about trust, respect, and shared values, all of which Chloe had discarded. With a deep breath, Adam closed the album and set it aside. It was a part of his past, but it didn't define his future. As weeks turned into months, the dust began to settle. Chloe moved out of their home and into a small apartment on the other side of town. She reached out to Adam once, asking if they could meet to talk. Adam declined. "There's nothing left to say," he told her. "You made your choice. Now you have to live with it." Poor Chloe. The consequences of her actions were inescapable. She had traded stability for excitement, love for lust, and now she faced the emptiness of her new reality. Ryan, ever the opportunist, had already distanced himself from her, leaving Chloe to grapple with the fallout alone. Adam, however, found solace in the life he was rebuilding. He discovered strength in himself he hadn't known existed, a resilience forged through pain and betrayal. And as he stood on the threshold of a new chapter, Adam felt a quiet certainty. The best was yet to come. The storm had passed, and though it had left destruction in its wake, it had also cleared the path for something better, a life built on truth, integrity, and hope. Adam's life, once defined by routine and stability, had been thrown into disarray by Chloe's betrayal. Yet, in the weeks and months following the divorce, he found himself in unfamiliar but strangely invigorating territory, a place of rediscovery and renewal. He was no longer a husband bound by the weight of a broken marriage. Instead, he was a man reclaiming his sense of purpose, rebuilding a life rooted in authenticity. One of the first changes Adam made was to his home. The house, once filled with memories of his marriage, now felt like a hollow echo of the past. Determined to transform it into a space that reflected his new beginning, Adam dove into renovations. He repainted the walls, swapped out furniture, and removed every trace of Chloe's aesthetic preferences. The process was therapeutic. As he dismantled the remnants of his old life, he felt lighter. The living room, once adorned with muted tones and sterile decor, now featured vibrant blues and greens, colors that reminded Adam of the ocean. He added a bookshelf in the corner, filling it with titles he'd always meant to read but never had time for. Each small change was a step forward, a declaration that this house was his now, a sanctuary of his own making. Outside the home, Adam began to reconnect with the world. For years, his life had revolved around his marriage, leaving little time for friendships or hobbies. Now he made a conscious effort to reach out to old friends, many of whom had been sidelined by the demands of his relationship with Chloe. Emma, his sister, was instrumental in pulling Adam out of his shell. One weekend, she insisted he join her and a group of friends for a hiking trip in the nearby mountains. Adam, initially hesitant, soon found himself enjoying the crisp air, the challenge of the trails, and the camaraderie of the group. By the end of the trip, he realized how much he'd missed the simple joys of connection and adventure. And before long, he put on a face mask and left the house, shouted at the women. "See," Emma teased as they sat by a campfire one evening. "I told you life doesn't end after divorce. It begins." Adam laughed, feeling a flicker of hope he hadn't felt in years. She was right. This wasn't an end. It was a beginning. Professionally, Adam also experienced a resurgence. Free from the distractions and emotional strain of his crumbling marriage, he threw himself into his work with renewed focus. His dedication paid off when his company promoted him to lead a high-profile project. For the first time in years, Adam felt truly proud of his accomplishments. Work became more than a source of income. It was a testament to his resilience. He found satisfaction in solving complex problems, mentoring younger colleagues, and pushing the boundaries of his field. His success at work became another pillar in the foundation of his new life. Perhaps the most surprising aspect of Adam's rebirth was his exploration of creativity. During a visit to a local art gallery with Emma, he was drawn to a series of abstract paintings that seemed to capture emotions he couldn't put into words. On a whim, he bought a canvas and some paints, telling himself it was just for fun. To his surprise, painting became a refuge. In the quiet hours of the evening, he would lose himself in colors and textures, letting his emotions flow onto the canvas. His first attempts were clumsy, but over time, he began to find his voice as an artist. The act of creating something from nothing mirrored the journey he was on, and it gave him a sense of control over his narrative. Despite his newfound independence, Adam remained cautious about relationships. He knew he wasn't ready to dive into dating, but he also understood that he couldn't let Chloe's betrayal define his view of love. He began attending a support group for divorced men and women, where he found comfort in sharing his story and hearing the experiences of others. One evening, during a meeting, Sarah He struck up a conversation with a woman named Laura. She was kind, thoughtful, and shared Adam's love for hiking and art. Their connection was natural, forced, a stark contrast to the complicated dynamics of his past relationship. While Adam wasn't sure if he was ready for anything serious, he appreciated the friendship that was forming. By the end of the year, Adam felt like a completely different person. He stood in his newly renovated living room, admiring a painting he had just finished. It was an abstract piece, filled with swirling blues and greens, reminiscent of the ocean he loved. It wasn't perfect, but it was his, a reflection of the man he had become. As he sipped his coffee and looked out the window, Adam realized he no longer thought about Chloe with bitterness. Instead, he felt gratitude. Her betrayal had been painful, but it had also been the catalyst for his transformation. Without it, he might never have rediscovered himself or the strength he carried within. Adam's life wasn't perfect, but it was real. And for the first time in years, he felt truly free. The road ahead was his to walk, and he intended to embrace every step of the journey.